Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Things are going really well for me. I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I guess I'm not going to be posting regular videos, or at least I'm not right now. I'm trying to do, what I want to do, and I want to post this video. This was a speech that I just gave a couple of months ago at the Rationalist International Convention in Helsinki, Finland. It's the first speech I gave in, I think, 5 years. I hope you like it. Thanks.
Stretch about. I am not going to be on this stage very long today. It is my first time on stage in 5 years. I got a few things to say, and then I'm going to get off. All right? All right. So, my name is David Silverman, and I am a terrible humanist and skeptic. Terrible. Really, folks, I'm just awful at it. I dehumanize people all the time. I dig my heels in when my cognitive dissonance is threatened, and I get angry when people on the internet are wrong because I'm so smart and they are so goddamn stupid. Okay? So I am going to talk to you today, again, I'm going to be brief, but I want to talk to you today about something at which I am quite bad. Humanism and skepticism and the pursuit of good. Now, what is good? Well, we don't have days to talk about that. There are many books that have been published on what is good. I only have a few minutes, and there are lots of wonderful books that do it better than I could. According to Sam Harris and others, the objective good is reducing suffering because every living thing which perceives suffering runs from it. Now, my late friend Douglas Adams disabused me of the idea that there is a true universal objective good, but we're going to ignore that for now, okay? And we're just going to call the reduction of suffering a pseudo-objective good. Objective enough to call it objective, because it's objective on the local level, it's objective on the planetary level. So, I maintain that the existence of the idea, the existence of the fact that objective good exists means that doing it is always good, and this means that if good exists, its pursuit is mandatory in order to be called good. It's the pursuit of good. If objective good exists, the pursuit of that good is mandatory to the greatest degree possible to be called good. This is what I call firebrand humanism. The need to actively pursue the idea of good. Well, how the hell do you do that? How do you go through life reducing suffering? I've got a few ideas. First of all, reducing suffering can only be done through work, okay? And that can only be accomplished with the right information. Acting on the wrong information kills the process and derails the effort. If you're acting as to the best of your ability on the wrong information, you're not going to accomplish good. Biases and cognitive dissonance, by their nature, are ever present and actively block our brains from access to the truth. This is why humanism requires humility. Humanism requires humility about your own knowledge, because your cognitive dissonance and biases are constantly blocking you. Additionally, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so, my friends, it is safe to assume that all of our leaders lie. Every politician, everywhere, lies all the time. And so, we must never allow any politician on any side to be able to allow something to be declared officially true. There is no official truth. If one politician says something is absolutely true, he's lying. They're lying. And we need to own that. Therefore, in order to do good, one must constantly engage in skepticism. Constantly. Humanism requires skepticism. And the reduction of suffering can only be done with the right data and the right information. Humanism is impossible without skepticism. All right. So if humanism requires skepticism, that means that skepticism is mandatory if you ever want to do good. Because if with the wrong information, your effort could be for the bad and not the good, and you wouldn't know it. You could be working for the wrong person all the time and you wouldn't know it. And this could go for any one of us, including myself, of course. And that's where the hard part begins, my friends. See, a lot of people have the mistaken idea that skepticism is passive and easy and painless. And they are wrong. It is none of those things. Skepticism is not passive, it is active. It's an activity you do. It's a thing you accomplish. It takes work. It's not about taking a moment to see if something feels right. It means actively trying to prove yourself wrong and failing. That's the act of skepticism. That's the work. How would your opponent combat your current views? And how would you respond? Can you beat all their attacks? This is the act of skepticism. This is the work that is required in order to really be sure that you're doing good. Well, to the greatest degree possible. Skepticism is not easy. It is hard because your brain wants to think it's already right. Your brain will give you easy excuses not to do skepticism and pretend you have. Okay? The most obvious two examples are listening to other people when they say they've done skepticism. Guilty as charged, right? Somebody says, I'm an expert, I've done the skepticism, and you believe it because you're cognitive, because he says something you agree with, your cognitive dissonance agrees. That's not skepticism. That's not it. And the other thing is, and listening to your side when they talk about the other side, instead of listening to the other side directly. How many people on this planet got a real good education about atheism from Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson? It would be a silly thing, right? For somebody to come up to you and say, I know all about atheism. My preacher told me about it. You laugh, but we do it all the time. It's a silly thing. Instead of listening to the other side directly. So what is the difference between what your side says about the other side and what the other side says about themselves and vice versa? Basic skepticism requires you to listen to both sides directly and earnestly and evaluate what you hear. If you don't like what I just said, tough shit, I'm right. You need to listen to the other side directly. It's hard, and I'm terrible at it, but it's what is required in order to perform the act. Skepticism is not painless either. It is painful. And I'm speaking literally sometimes because we hate being wrong and we sometimes feel literal pain when our cognitive dissonance is threatened. But that's why we do this, okay? We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be told we're right. We want to be right. Because if we are right, we can do better to reduce suffering. If we're told we're right, but we're wrong, we're spinning wheels. So we get through, the cognitive dissonance makes us angry, we swear, I swear a lot. But the objective here is truth, and only through truth can we get to good. And if we all want to be good, we all want to do good, we all want to reduce suffering, so this process and the pain it gives is the price we pay for the pursuit of good. So, okay. We have an objective good, and we understand the need for humanism and skepticism to be intertwined. Let us look for a moment at the American humanism movement. I'm not picking on one organization at the moment right now, but rather what I see in American humanism writ large. And that is, and has been, the decoupling of humanism and skepticism. Okay? We have seen skepticism not only ignored, but eschewed. For example, today's humanists have linked their politics with their concept of good. Humanism is leftism now in America, okay? Non-leftists are non-humanists and are otherwise known as bad people, right? So I went on the American Humanist Association, and now I will pick on the AHA specifically. I went on the American Humanist Association website and looked at the description, and they list humanism as a progressive stance. And that is absolutely wrong. That is absolutely at the core wrong. That makes me want to find the person who put that word there and slap them across the face hard. That is a betrayal and an abandonment of humanism. Humanism is not your politics. Humanism is not leftism. Humanism is your check on your politics. Because non-humanists are bad, there is little pity for compassion for outsiders or anyone who dissents from leftism, right? So the resulting cancellations eliminates dissenters and therefore debate, destroying opportunities for skepticism, i.e. finding out if you're right. Because skepticism has been removed and humanism has been linked to politics, humanism has become synonymous with leftist politicking in America. So the organizations now directly engage in leftist policymaking, even if it has nothing to do with humanism, including support for surgically transitioning kids, drag shows for kids, open borders, etc., all in the name of humanism. And there is ample room for good people to disagree on these and many issues unless discussion is stymied and skepticism is stifled. And I want to use the trans issue as an example, okay? The left position is that transitioning children and teens is a good thing, and they stifled debate on it. And now all these reports are coming out that that's bad, and we're damaging kids. And we have damaged kids. And if you go on YouTube, and you just do a search on YouTube for detransitioners, you will find tens of thousands of videos, some with millions of views, because of these children that have been damaged by this policy that was not debated. Because if you debated it, you were being bad. And as a result of that, children have been damaged. Masses of children have been damaged, and we are just now going to find out how bad that damage is. When I ran conventions way back when, we used to sponsor debates with religious people. I used to put a preacher on the stage. Nowadays, since skepticism is actively eschewed, humanist and atheist events won't even host a Republican humanists. Because again, Republican humanists don't exist because humanism is synonymous with leftism. So, no skepticism is offered ever against any leftist position. The assumption is that leftism is good, just by default. How useful is that? How valuable is that? How much good is another knee-jerk for one side of the organization, the knee-jerk for one side organization? How good is that? How useful is that? If you've got an organization and all they do is say yes to everything that one side says, whether it's left or right, how useful is that? How valuable is that to society? How much good is going to come out of that? And what then is the purpose of those organizations? Whatever it is, it's not the quest for good anymore, is it? It's clearly not humanism, and it clearly shows that humanism without skepticism is anything but humanism, and potentially very dangerous and very damaging. My friends, I stand here today after a 5-year hiatus from the stage, and I'm here with this message. Skepticism must return to humanism. Without skepticism, humanism cannot be humanism. And so before I hand this dais back, I want to give you my top ways that I think skepticism should be returned into humanism. Number one, if you're not doing skepticism, you're not doing humanism. Say that over and over again. If you are not actively doing the work of skepticism, you are not doing humanism. Good takes effort. If it's easy, you did it wrong. Your politics is not your humanism. Your humanism is a check on your politics. Remember, our political opponents, your political opponents, are smart. They're complex. And they may even be humanists. Okay? Figure out what they think and why they think it by asking them and engaging them directly. In fact, humanize everyone. Humanists can be, here we go again with my crazy words. Humanists can be left or right, rich or poor, Republican or Democrat. Our common North Pole is the reduction of suffering. But people come to that from different angles and see different ways to get to the good. This is the true value of diversity, my friends. It fosters skepticism by providing different ideas to get to the common goal. No ideas, even your most closely held religious or personal beliefs are above debate. And debate you must, in order to humbly face your biases in the quest for truth, which is the only path to good. All ideas are open to debate. Now, if I think of all ideas, what I always get from that is, well, what about Holocaust denial? What about the extremes? What about Holocaust denial? Yes, even Holocaust denial. I have a very special place for Holocaust deniers. Do you know what that is? Right there. Right there up on the stage. I will rip you to shreds. And if I can't rip you to shreds, maybe I'm wrong. That's the humility that's mandatory in skepticism. This is how you do good. This is how you achieve goals. By debating, and taking down, or losing and changing your mind. My friends, I said earlier that I was really bad at humanism. And I want to leave you on this note, because this isn't easy. Skipping skepticism is easy. Doing skepticism is hard. And I fail at doing skepticism all the time. To be sure, I am a bad humanist, but I always have my North Pole. Humanism is a pursuit. It's the pursuit of good. And I hope we can all, once again, together, pursue it together. I want to take a moment before I step off to thank you all for listening today. Thanks to Rationalist International. Thanks to Michael Sherlock for making this happen. And I would now be happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
I mean, you've been talking about skepticism. Can you actually explain to me how one does a skepticism?
Yeah, it's about trying to prove yourself wrong and fail.